As I headed out of the Dallas campground, I already knew that my planned events over the next few days were in trouble. I had planned to spend 3 days around the Mount Rainier area, but with the northwest side of the mountain closed, I had already lost 1 day of my planned activities. As for the northeast side, I had always known that the road to Sunrise Point was only officially opened starting in July, but I wasn't sure if that was conditional on weather, so I set out to find out for sure. In addition to road closings, the extended weather forecast for the area was not looking good. As I entered the park, the ranger at the park's entry station confirmed the road was closed 7 miles ahead, and he wasn't encouraging I would get any views of Mount Rainier. Since I had a park pass, it cost me nothing to continue up to the gate to take in whatever I could see, and that is what I did. The road closed right at the junction to the White River campground at about 4,000 feet. There were no views of Rainier, but I still got a nice view and a couple of images of the surrounding mountains encased in fog from the White River. With the northeast side of the mountain closed, I had a couple of things planned for the southeast side of the mountain, so off I went, not really knowing what I would get to enjoy. The drive to the park was beautiful. I planned on visiting 2 areas, the Grove of the Patriarchs and Silver Falls.
How you doing? Good. How are you? I haven't, thank you.
I was encouraged along the way to see more vehicles along this route. Pulling into the parking area for the Grove of the Patriarchs, it was already fairly packed. The Grove of the Patriarchs is a large area of old-growth forest with trees over 1,000 years old. It is an easy hike and certainly a trip worth the time. I took my time strolling the path, simply enjoying the sight of these beautiful trees. After visiting the Grove of Patriarchs, I literally crossed the street for another easy hike to Silver Falls. I wasn't expecting much, but I was wrong. Silver Falls was beautiful, and I was able to capture some beautiful photographs. Even though this would put me into day 3 of my plan, it was still early in the day, so I decided to continue deeper into the park. Not only had I not seen Mount Rainier yet, given the coming forecast, I decided I wouldn't wait. I was headed to the Visitor Center at Paradise, where I hoped to get a view of Rainier. The ride along Stevens Canyon Road and up to Paradise was once again beautiful. I took my time and stopped several times along the way to photograph the mountains, and finally I got a sight of Mount Rainier from one of the pullovers. I had always hoped to do some hiking around the numerous trails that started from Paradise. In fact, I had several planned out, but I knew that given all the snow cover, that was unlikely. Upon reaching the Paradise parking lot, I got a really great view of Mount Rainier, along with the large meadows of Paradise still covered in significant snow. Although a number of people were strolling on the snow-covered ground close to the parking area, unless you were equipped for a winter hike, the park rangers were limiting access. Upon leaving Paradise, I next stopped at Narada Falls, a majestic channeled waterfall easily accessible from the parking area just off the main road. It was only day 1 of my time in the Mount Rainier area, but I had already covered all my planned sites that were available, except one waterfall. I knew my time here would be shortened, but I thought I would have at least one more day. Hungry and unsure where I would camp for the night, I decided to leave the park and then head to a local Himalayan restaurant for dinner. After, I went on a lengthy search for a dispersed campsite for the night, which I finally found tucked away in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. Once at camp and settled in, I had a critical decision to make the next morning. All night I tossed and turned trying to decide what to do next. I could either stay around Mount Rainier for one more day, or head off to my next destination, Mount St Helens. The weather forecast I had been following for days had not changed. A significant rainstorm was headed this way, and it was expected to last for the next 4 to 5 days. Today could likely be the only day possible to see Mount St Helens, a place I really wanted to see. So I headed off to the Johnston Ridge Observatory on the northern side of the mountain. This was a 124-mile drive, and the weather was already spotty with heavy clouds in the sky and occasional rain along the way. There was no guarantee I would ever get to see Mount St Helens, but I had to try. Weary of closed roads, I checked several times along the way to ensure I could get to the observatory. The official site indicated that the observatory building itself was closed, but access to the outside observation area was open to the public. By the time I arrived at the observatory, the clouds were heavy. There was some rain, and the temperature was 39 degrees with a whipping wind. I couldn't see the top of Mount St. Helens when I first got there, but there were breaks in the clouds, and over time my patience paid off. I ended up getting some incredible views, and I was in awe of what I saw. It was now just over 41 years since the volcanic eruption, and the devastation was still significantly present. Pictures can't really capture what I saw and felt as I stood there. This was by far the most powerful sight I saw on this trip, and everyone who can should try and see it. I had made the right choice to come to Mount St. Helens today, but now I had another important decision to make. From here, my plan calls for me to spend the next 5 days exploring around the Southern Cascades area and the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. With the rainy forecast, I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. It was time to choose to either continue on or head east, outrun the rain, but end my trip early. I wrestled with this all the way back to my decision point. Knowing there wasn't anything specific I really wanted to see remaining, I chose to head east toward Yakima and set up for a departure back home. I drove 177 miles, covering most of another scenic road, Route 12. I ended my day at a sunny and warm dispersed campsite in Clint Canyon, part of the Oak Creek Wildlife Area, just 20 miles west of Yakima. After a fairly clear and warm evening, I woke up to a cloudy-covered sky. The rain was indeed on its way. As I left camp, I still hadn't decided how far I would drive today. Maybe to a campground close to Spokane and spend one more night in Washington. As I drove east, I stopped a couple of times to eat breakfast and get supplies for the cross-country drive home. As I got closer to Spokane, I made the decision not to stop and instead continued driving. This had been a wonderful trip, even with the several disappointments along the way, brought about by areas closed due to COVID on the Olympic Peninsula, and closures simply due to the still snow-covered mountain areas. I had traveled around virtually all of Washington and collected many memories along the way. I felt fortunate to have seen all the things that I did. Because I have so many places I want to visit, I am not sure when or if I will get a chance to return to Washington. But for now, thank you and goodbye.